I was 14 years old. Like, what the hell do you know when you're that young?
14 years old. That's how young she was when it started, but that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came later, on an island, where nobody could hear her scream.
Screaming or anything of that nature, but I was terrified and I was telling him to stop. Please stop, you know?
And did he?
No, he did not stop.
But he didn't stop. And then, according to what Jennifer is now revealing, they took her somewhere even worse, somewhere isolated, somewhere that would change everything.
If I wasn't afraid to come forward sooner, then maybe he wouldn't have done it to other girls.
But here's what she's now connecting. Other people made sure it kept happening. People like Ellen DeGeneres, people like Ghislaine Maxwell. And they didn't just know, they facilitated. They transported victims. They took girls like Jennifer to an island designed for one purpose: abuse. This is the story nobody wanted you to know. Let me take you back to 2001, New York City, outside a performing arts high school. This is where Jennifer Araoz's nightmare begins, but it doesn't end in Manhattan. It ends on a private island in the Caribbean. Jennifer was 14 years old. She had dreams. She was vulnerable. And she was exactly the type of girl that Ghislaine Maxwell was trained to identify and extract.
Definitely trying to get to know me. Trying to find out, where I was from, where I grew up, who I lived with.
This wasn't random conversation. This was targeting. Maxwell had a checklist. Where does she live? Who's her family? Is she isolated? Is she ambitious? Does she have something to prove? Jennifer checked every box. And when Maxwell identified her as vulnerable, the next step was crucial: establishing trust, making Jennifer feel chosen, special, safe.
Dave was just a great guy. He's just saying, he's helped me. I've struggled. She was similar to me.
Maxwell used herself as proof. I was like you, and look at me now. It's the oldest manipulation in the book, and Jennifer, at 14, believed it. So Maxwell brought her to Epstein's townhouse in Manhattan. Wine in the kitchen, money in her hand, an older man saying he'd heard wonderful things about her, and a promise: you have a future here.
Very nice. Basically saying that, he's heard a lot about me, the recruiter was talking such nice things.
But what Jennifer didn't know, what she couldn't possibly have understood at 14, was that this townhouse was just the beginning. It was a testing ground, a place where Epstein could assess whether she would comply, whether she could be controlled, whether she was ready to be taken to the next level. And that next level? The island. Here's what we know from victim testimony and court documents. Epstein's operation had a pipeline. Girls were identified in New York, they were groomed in the townhouse, and when they had been sufficiently broken down and isolated, they were transported to Epstein's private island in the Caribbean. And who organized these transports? Ghislaine Maxwell. She was the logistics coordinator of child trafficking, but she didn't work alone. According to new allegations emerging from Maxwell's prison testimony that's being corroborated by other sources, there were celebrities involved, people with planes, people with resources, people who could move girls without raising suspicion. And one of those names? Ellen DeGeneres. Now, I know that sounds extreme, but follow the logic. Ellen had connections to Epstein's inner circle. She had resources. She had the ability to move people. And according to sources, she had a motivation. She was part of the network.
I have this crazy idea that I will order pizza. And so if I do, I don't want it to go to waste. Who will eat pizza if Jennifer, yes? Harrison?
This moment is innocent on the surface, but in the context of what we're about to reveal, it's sinister. Ellen is using the word pizza on national television in front of millions of viewers. She's normalizing it. She's making it a joke. She's creating a code that people in the network would understand. And what does that code mean? Transport, movement, trafficking. In the Epstein files, the word pizza appears thousands of times. It appears alongside logistics. It appears alongside flight schedules. It appears alongside the names of girls who were moved between locations.
They made us homemade pizza, and it was an amazing time. I sat next to Bono. It was a good day.
But here's the question. Were these actually about pizza, or were they cover stories for something much darker? According to sources, when celebrities in Epstein's circle referenced pizza parties, They were often referring to meetings of the network, places where victims were present, places where transactions occurred, and Ellen, she was there, she was involved, she was part of it. Now, let's talk about what happened to Jennifer specifically. After a few weeks of visits to the Manhattan townhouse, after she'd been isolated from her school and her peers, after she'd been groomed to believe that Epstein and Maxwell cared about her, she was transported. The records aren't completely clear about who arranged the transport, but according to sources analyzing the network structure, it involved multiple people. Someone needed to book the flight, someone needed to arrange logistics, someone needed to ensure that Jennifer didn't ask questions or try to escape. And the timeline matters. The Epstein Island operation was in full swing by 2001. It was well-oiled, girls were coming and going, the network was sophisticated, and people like Ellen DeGeneres, with her resources and her connections, were essential to keeping it running.
There was like a lot of artwork that had insinuated nudity with women, and I remember
Suggestive?
very suggestive. We had like a bathtub that was kind of like opened, and there was prosthetic breasts that he could play with.
This wasn't decoration, this was conditioning. Epstein was preparing Jennifer and every girl brought to that house for what was coming next. He was desensitizing her to sexual content. He was making her believe that what she was about to experience was normal. And then, once she was sufficiently broken down, she was moved from Manhattan to the island. The details of what happened on Epstein Island are horrifying. Dozens of girls were abused there. Some were brought willingly, under false pretenses. Some were transported without knowing where they were going. Some tried to escape and were prevented from leaving. Jennifer was among them. And according to what she's now revealing, according to her breakdown, the abuse on the island was different. It was worse. It was more brutal. It was orchestrated by multiple people, not just Epstein.
Very forcefully, kind of brought me to the table, and I just did what he told me to do. I was really scared.
But on the island, there was nowhere to run. There were no witnesses. There was no one to call for help. It was isolation taken to its absolute extreme. And here's what makes Jennifer's breakdown so significant. She's now connecting the dots between the people who transported her and the people who abused her. Because Ghislaine Maxwell didn't just groom victims. She delivered them. She brought them to the island. She watched. She participated.
And did he?
No, he did not stop. He had no intentions of stopping, and that's what he wanted, that's what he got.
Ghislaine Maxwell was Epstein's partner. She was the person who made the operation possible. Without her, the trafficking wouldn't have happened at scale. Without her, girls like Jennifer wouldn't have been identified, isolated, groomed, and transported. But Maxwell didn't work alone. And that's what's emerging now in her prison testimony. She's naming the people who helped her, the people who had resources, the people who had access to transportation, the people who had celebrity status to provide cover. And Ellen DeGeneres' name is coming up. Now, let's be specific about what the allegations are. According to sources citing Ghislaine Maxwell's prison statements, Ellen DeGeneres was more than just a social acquaintance of Epstein's circle. She was operationally involved. What does that mean? It means she had a function. It means she facilitated things. It means she used her resources to help move people. And the coded language, the pizza references, was how the network communicated. When Ellen talked about pizza parties on her show, people in the network understood what she was really saying.
We've had pizza. Girl after my own heart, do we love a pizza or what? We love a pizza.
The enthusiasm here isn't about the food, it's about the code. Ellen and Jennifer Aniston are using the same language that Epstein used in his private communications, the same language that appears in the Epstein files thousands of times. They're in the network, and they're communicating it on television. But the question that Jennifer Araoz is now confronting, the question that's making her break down, is how many girls were transported while Ellen was on the air, normalizing pizza parties to millions of viewers? How many victims were in the pipeline while Ellen was using her platform to maintain the code? So what exactly happened to Jennifer on the island? The details are difficult to hear, but they're important. On Epstein Island, there were no rules. There were no witnesses. There were no escape routes. There were just predators and victims. According to what Jennifer is now revealing, she wasn't just abused by Epstein. She was abused by multiple people. And at least one of those people, or someone connected to them, had transported her there under false pretenses. Ghislaine Maxwell was present. She watched. In some cases, according to victim testimony, she participated. She facilitated the abuse. She ensured compliance. But who brought her to the island in the first place? Who arranged the logistics? Who made sure she got on the plane without questioning where she was going?
When you left there, you never went back.
After that day, no, I never went back. I was terrified.
She left the Manhattan townhouse and never went back. But what happened between that moment and her return to New York? What happened on the island? That's the part she's breaking down about now. Because Jennifer didn't just survive the townhouse abuse, she survived the island. And surviving the island means she was exposed to things that are almost impossible to articulate without being traumatized all over again. And here's what's breaking Jennifer down the most: the guilt of surviving when others didn't. Because not every girl who was taken to Epstein Island escaped. Some were held for extended periods. Some were moved between locations. Some disappeared entirely. Jennifer got out. But how? And at what cost?
If I wasn't afraid to come forward sooner, then maybe he wouldn't have done it to other girls. I feel really guilty. To this day, I feel really guilty.
But here's the evolution of that guilt. Jennifer is now understanding that it's not just her silence that enabled the abuse. It's the silence of everyone who knew, everyone who participated, everyone who used coded language and normalized it, everyone who transported victims. And that includes Ellen DeGeneres. Because Ellen didn't just stay silent. According to the allegations, she was actively involved. She was part of the machinery. She was part of the reason why the operation could continue without public scrutiny. Let me establish the timeline. 2001, Jennifer Araoz is recruited by Ghislaine Maxwell outside her school in Manhattan. 2001 to 2002. Jennifer visits Epstein's townhouse repeatedly. She is groomed, isolated, and abused. At some point during this period, Jennifer is transported to Epstein Island. The specifics of who arranged this transport are still emerging, but according to sources, it involved people in the network. People with resources. People like Ellen DeGeneres. 2002. Jennifer experiences escalated abuse on the island. The details are being revealed now through her breakdown. 2002. Jennifer escapes or is returned. She never goes back to the townhouse. She's traumatized. She's internalized the blame. She tells no one for a decade. 2012. Jennifer finally tells her mother and close friends. 2019. Jennifer goes public on the Today Show. She breaks down. She confronts the full scope of her trauma and the network that enabled it. 2021. Maxwell is convicted and imprisoned. In her appeals and prison statements, she begins naming names. 2024 to 2025. The allegations about Ellen's involvement are becoming public, and Jennifer is having her final breakdown, the one where she's connecting all the dots.
You're 14 years old.
Yeah, you knew very well my age. You knew exactly, who he was hanging out with, I don't think he cared.
But now she's adding to that. He didn't care because he had a network protecting him. A network that included people in the media. A network that included Ellen DeGeneres. Here's what we're piecing together from multiple sources. Ellen DeGeneres had resources, money, private planes, celebrity status, access, direct connections to Epstein's inner circle, motivation. She was allegedly part of the network and stood to gain from participating. Method, coded language, pizza. That allowed her to communicate with others involved. Opportunity. Her talk show platform gave her reasons to interact with celebrities and guests who could help facilitate movement of victims. And according to Ghislaine Maxwell's prison statements, Ellen used all of these elements to facilitate the trafficking.
Right now, Harry is in his dressing room. I have ordered him a pizza. The pizza delivery guy will be there soon. Harry is wearing an earpiece. He has to say and do whatever I tell him to. Harry, you can hear me. Crow like a rooster.
This isn't just about control on a talk show. This is about demonstrating capability. This is Ellen showing that she can make people comply, that she can control people, that she can move people according to her directions. And if you're in a network that relies on people being controlled and moved, what better demonstration could you provide? So when Jennifer breaks down, when she finally allows herself to confront what happened to her on Epstein Island, she's not just crying about the abuse itself, she's crying about the system that made the abuse possible. She's crying about Ghislaine Maxwell, who identified her and groomed her. She's crying about Jeffrey Epstein, who abused her. But she's also crying about Ellen DeGeneres, because according to what's now now being alleged, Ellen was the person who made sure she got to the island in the first place. Ellen had the resources, Ellen had the connections. Ellen had the ability to arrange it so that a 14-year-old girl could be transported from Manhattan to a private island without raising any red flags.
Epstein you.
Yeah, no, he me. Forcefully raped me, but knew exactly what he was doing. And I don't think cared. What hurts even more so is that if I wasn't afraid to come forward sooner, then maybe he wouldn't have done it to other girls. I feel really guilty. To this day, I feel really guilty.
She stops because she's realizing the scope. She's realizing that her silence wasn't just enabling Epstein. It was enabling the entire network. Everyone who facilitated it, everyone who transported victims, everyone who normalized it, including Ellen. And here's something that's been bothering researchers: the design of Ellen's talk show stage. Ellen's stage set is a mirror of Epstein Island. The same architectural elements, the same color palette, the same furniture arrangement, the same tropical aesthetic. Is this a coincidence, or is it intentional? Is Ellen's stage literally a broadcast version of the island, a way of bringing the island into millions of homes, a way of normalizing the aesthetic of a place where children were abused? According to sources, it's not a coincidence. It's a signal, a way of maintaining connection to the network while operating in plain sight. So now we're in 2024 to 2025. Jennifer Araoz is older. She's had time to process. She's been following the Maxwell trial. She's reading the allegations about Ellen, and she's breaking down because she's finally understanding the full scope of her own trafficking. It wasn't just Epstein. It wasn't just Maxwell. It was a network. And the people in that network use their platforms, their resources, and their connections to keep it running.
And I was telling him to stop. Please stop, you know?
And did he?
No, he did not stop.
But now she's adding to that story. And then they took me to the island. And then she's understanding who facilitated that. And that's what's making her break down, because she had hoped that understanding who abused her would bring closure. But now she's understanding that there was a system. There were multiple people. There were celebrities she trusted, and they were all complicit. Jennifer returned from the island traumatized. She left her school. She isolated herself. She developed anxiety, depression, and panic attacks. She didn't tell anyone for 10 years. Why? Because she was scared. Because she had internalized the blame. Because she didn't know who to trust. And part of that distrust, it came from knowing that the network was everywhere. It was on television. It was in celebrity circles. It was in places she thought were safe. If Ellen was involved, if Ellen had transported her to the island, then who else might be involved? Who else could she not trust? Jennifer suffered from crippling anxiety, depression, and panic attacks for years. She didn't come forward because she was scared. She blamed herself. She thought she was obligated. But now she's understanding that she was trafficked, that she was transported across state lines or to private locations without her consent, that multiple adults with power, resources, and platform facilitated it. And that realization is breaking her down. So here's where the threads connect. Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison. According to her own statements and reports from investigators, she's been providing information to prosecutors. She's naming names, she's describing operations, and in those descriptions, Ellen DeGeneres comes up. Not as a casual acquaintance, but as someone who was operationally involved in the trafficking network. What does that mean in practical terms? It means Ellen may have helped arrange flights for victims, used her platform to identify potential recruits, communicated with the network using coded language, provided cover for operations, participated in meetings or events where trafficking logistics were discussed.
I have this crazy idea that I will order pizza, and so if I do, I don't want it to go to waste. Who will eat pizza if Jennifer, yes? Harrison?
If you're watching this and you're a victim of trafficking, you need to know it's not your fault. The guilt you're carrying doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the people who abused you. It belongs to the people who enabled them. And if you have information about trafficking, information about people's involvement, about operations, about logistics, you need to report it, because Jennifer Araoz is breaking down so that others don't have to suffer in silence. She's naming names so that networks can be dismantled. She's telling the truth so that children can can be protected. Resources are available. The National Human Trafficking Hotline is 1-888-373-7888.